all I recall is a sense of, oh no, foot going towards a brake and realised I was doing I didn't know, but I was doing 300, just shy of 320 miles an hour. And the front tyre had delaminated and blown. The car had skewed right and was going off the road, but it was still doing 290 miles an hour as it started to roll. I'd pulled the lever for the parachute and I just thought, well, I'm going to die now. But there was no fear associated with that. When am I going to die? How? Why? And it was like, oh, it's now. That's the answer.
Richard Hammond, the daring hamster of Top Gear, has always been known for his fearless stunts and high-octane adventures. But behind the laughs, engines, and jaw-dropping crashes, a terrifying incident almost changed his life forever. Fans remember the 2006 jet-powered car crash that left him in critical condition. But what really happened that day is far more intense and revealing than the headline suggested. From the split-second decisions in the cockpit to the grueling months of recovery, Hammond faced a battle few ever saw. Beyond the physical injuries, there was the emotional toll of the doubts, the nightmares, and the fear that his career and life could end in an instant. While viewers cheered every daring lap on television, Richard was living a story of resilience, courage, and the harsh reality of life on the edge. This is the untold truth of the man behind the stuntman image, a story that exposes the fragility hidden behind fame, adrenaline, and the roar of engines. On September 20th, 2006, Richard Hammond was behind the wheel of a jet-powered car in England, attempting to reach speeds over 300 miles per hour, a stunt that many thought was pure madness. In a moment, everything went wrong. The car, a vampire jet dragster, lost control on the runway. Witnesses later described the scene as apocalyptic. The vehicle flipped violently, tearing across the asphalt before finally coming to a stop in a haze of smoke and flames. Hammond was flung from the seat, unconscious, with multiple severe injuries. The severity of the crash was immediate. He suffered a traumatic brain injury, broken legs, and a shattered knee. Hospitals were on high alert as medics worked tirelessly to stabilize him. Fans around the world watched the news with horror, fearing the worst. Doctors said Hammond's survival was nothing short of a miracle. But the physical recovery was just the beginning. For months, he battled memory loss, confusion, and the psychological aftermath of seeing his life flash before his eyes. His colleagues, Jeremy Clarkson and James May, stayed by his side, often reflecting on the thin line between ambition and danger. Behind the cameras, Hammond faced sleepless nights and painful rehabilitation sessions that tested his patience and resolve. The simplest tasks, walking, speaking clearly, even holding a cup of tea, became monumental achievements. Richard's determination to return to television was fueled not just by passion but by sheer stubbornness. In interviews years later, he admitted that he constantly questioned whether he could ever perform at the same level again. Every time he sat behind a wheel, a part of him relived that horrifying crash, measuring the risks with painstaking care. Yet, he refused to let fear define him. The mental scars were real, but he learned to channel them, turning past trauma into a source of focus. The crash also reshaped Hammond's perspective on life. He became more conscious of the fragility of existence, understanding that fame and adrenaline are fleeting when faced with mortality. Friends recall moments when he would pause mid-laugh, lost in thought, contemplating the narrow margin between thrill and disaster. His near-death experience forced him to re-evaluate priorities, valuing family and close relationships above the relentless pursuit of extreme stunts. For Richard, the accident was not just a career-defining moment, it was life-defining. Despite the public perception of the incident as a mere television stunt gone wrong, Hammond's experience highlights the hidden costs of entertainment. The media often glossed over the physical therapy, emotional turbulence, and lingering trauma that accompanied his recovery. For years he dealt with migraines, post-concussion symptoms, and a vulnerability that contrasted sharply with his on-screen persona. Yet, Richard's return to Top Gear was a testament to human resilience. He faced the cameras again, adrenaline pumping, but now with a renewed understanding of the balance between daring and self-preservation. Today, Richard Hammond is more than just a TV presenter or a stunt enthusiast. He is a survivor. The crash could have ended his career or worse, his life, but it instead became a powerful story of courage, recovery, and reinvention. Fans who watch him now may see the humor, the energy, and the daring feats, but beneath it all lies a man who confronted mortality and emerged stronger, wiser and deeply aware of the price of chasing thrills. The real story of Richard Hammond is not just about speed or crashes. It's about the relentless human spirit, the pain behind the smiles, and the triumph of surviving against all odds. The months following the accident were a study in courage. Richard Hammond battled migraines, post-concussion symptoms, and constant fatigue. He struggled with memory lapses, anxiety, and the persistent fear that another misstep could end everything. Yet he pressed forward, fueled by a mix of stubbornness and determination. Returning to Top Gear became a symbol of his resilience. Every step, every stunt attempted, carried a shadow of the past. The crash was a constant reminder of the fine line between thrill and danger. Fans saw a smiling, energetic presenter, unaware of the physical and mental battles waged behind the scenes. Private moments revealed vulnerability, introspection, and a newfound appreciation for life's fragility. Family, friends, and colleagues became anchors during this turbulent period, helping him navigate fear and uncertainty. Hammond's return to television marked not just professional recovery but personal reinvention. He approached stunts with calculated caution, channeling fear into focus rather than recklessness. The experience reshaped his priorities, families reshaped his priorities, family, health, and safety became central, alongside the adrenaline-fueled career he loved. The crash also highlighted the hidden cost of extreme entertainment. For every thrilling lap, there were countless hours of recovery, reflection, and internal struggle. Hammond endured what many never saw: physical pain, sleepless nights, and mental scars, but emerged stronger, wiser, and more human. The near-death experience transformed him not into someone fearful, but into someone profoundly aware of life's value and the courage required to face mortality. Today, Richard Hammond is more than a television presenter or daredevil. He is a survivor who stared death in the face, battled back from severe injuries, and returned to the screen with renewed purpose. While fans cheer his stunts, few realize the emotional and physical journey behind each wheel, each lap, and each crash. His story is not just about speed or danger. It's about resilience, survival, and the indomitable human spirit. The real Richard Hammond is not only the thrill seeker audiences adore, it is a man who endured, recovered, and redefined courage, proving that even in the face of life-threatening danger, the human spirit can prevail, even after returning to television. The shadow of the 2006 crash lingered over Richard Hammond. Each stunt, each high-speed lap carried the weight of memory, the instant when control was lost, when life hung by a thread. For Hammond, the challenge wasn't just physical. It was psychological. Surviving the crash had proven his body resilient. But surviving his fears would test him in ways no one could see on camera. The recovery process had already taught him patience, determination, and the importance of small victories. But returning to the thrill of motorsport meant confronting the very fear that had nearly ended him. At first, even sitting behind a steering wheel caused anxiety. Heart racing, hands trembling, he would replay the accident in his mind, imagining every possible risk. Yet, he refused to let that fear control his life. Step by step, stunt by stunt, he learned to channel his nerves into focus, using caution and experience to temper his adrenaline-driven instincts. This period also reshaped Hammond's understanding of teamwork and trust. His colleagues, particularly Jeremy Clarkson and James May, had stood by him during the worst moments, offering support, encouragement, and accountability. The bond between them deepened as they faced the reality of danger together. Richard realized that true courage was not recklessness. It was the willingness to rely on others while still pushing limits responsibly. Meanwhile, the media and public perception added another layer of pressure. Fans expected the fearless, fast-paced Hammond they had grown to love. Behind the scenes, he struggled with self-doubt. Would audiences accept a version of him that acknowledged vulnerability? Could he continue to entertain without risking everything again? These questions weighed heavily on him, but he refused to retreat from the life he had built. Instead, he turned the experience into a teaching moment, understanding that honesty about risk and recovery could inspire, Resilience in others. Hammond also became more attuned to his own physical and mental limits. He learned to recognize early signs of stress, fatigue, or overconfidence, using these moments to recalibrate. Meditation, careful planning, and structured practice became integral to his preparation for stunts. No longer did he chase speed merely for spectacle. He pursued it with precision, strategy, and a profound respect for danger. Every high-speed endeavor became a negotiation between thrill and survival. The emotional scars, however, remained. Nightmares, flashbacks, and the lingering memory of near death forced him to confront vulnerability daily. Yet, these challenges also strengthened his character. Hammond learned that acknowledging fear did not diminish courage, it defined it. Each time he faced a stunt, he wasn't proving invincibility. He was proving resilience, the capacity to rise even when life threatens to break you. By now, Richard Hammond had transformed into more than a daredevil. He was a mentor, a survivor, and an example of human endurance. He shared his experiences openly, reflecting on the accident and recovery in interviews and documentaries. His story became a blueprint for perseverance, illustrating how trauma can be channeled into growth rather than despair. The crash, once a symbol of fragility and loss, had become a catalyst for maturity, insight, and renewed purpose. Ultimately, of Hammond's life is not about recklessness or television stunts, it is about facing fear and choosing to move forward. The accident was not the end. It was a turning point that redefined what it meant to be courageous. Richard Hammond's journey reminds us that survival is not simply about escaping danger. It is about confronting it with clarity, determination, and an unwavering commitment to life itself. Even today, when he climbs behind the wheel, Hammond carries the lessons of that day with him. Every turn, every acceleration, every calculated risk is infused with the awareness of what was lost and what was gained. Courage, he learned, is not the absence of fear, it is mastery over it. And Richard Hammond's life, shaped by both tragedy and triumph, stands as proof that resilience is the ultimate adventure. Years after the crash, Richard Hammond had emerged not just as a television presenter or stunt performer, but as a man profoundly changed by experience. The near-fatal accident that could have ended his life became the defining moment of his personal and professional growth. The scars, both physical and emotional, remained, but they were no longer burdens. They were reminders of resilience, courage, and the fragility of life. Returning fully to Top Gear, Hammond approached every stunt with a balance of daring and awareness. He still embraced speed, adrenaline, and the challenges that had once defined him, but now each action carried a deliberate mindfulness. No longer was thrill an end in itself. It became a measured pursuit, a dialogue between passion and prudence. Every engine roar, every turn of a wheel, was now infused with the wisdom earned through pain, recovery, and survival. Off-screen, Hammond's perspective on life had shifted. The crash had taught him to value relationships, health, and simple moments of joy. Friends and family became anchors, and his appreciation for everyday life deepened. Ordinary routines, breakfast with loved ones, quiet walks, and moments of reflection took on new significance. He had faced mortality and understood the delicate balance between risk and life's fleeting beauty. Professionally, Hammond's story inspired colleagues, fans, and aspiring presenters. His journey demonstrated that resilience is not just physical endurance, but a willingness to confront fear, adapt, and grow. The accident, once a symbol of danger, had become a powerful lesson in human strength and determination. Interviews, documentaries, and public appearances allowed him to share this narrative, emphasizing that true courage is measured not by reckless acts but by the ability to rise after a fall. Even with fame and acclaim, Hammond remained grounded. He embraced life with humility, humor, and gratitude, recognizing that the public persona of the hamster was only part of the man he had become. The laughter, stunts, and excitement of television were now accompanied by a quiet reflection, an understanding of what truly matters. Risk had a name, and he respected it. Survival had a cost, and he honored it. The legacy of Richard Hammond is not merely a collection of television moments or daring feats. It is the story of a man who stared death in the face, endured pain that few could imagine, and returned stronger, wiser, and deeply aware of life's value. His journey from trauma to triumph stands as a testament to perseverance, mental strength, and the human capacity to overcome doubt in the end. Hammond's life illustrates a profound truth. The greatest adventures are not only the ones filled with speed and spectacle, but also the ones that test the spirit, demand resilience, and ultimately transform a person from within. Today, when he steps onto a set or behind a wheel, he carries both the memory of his near-death experience and the wisdom it imparted. He is no longer simply a presenter chasing thrill. He is a survivor, a teacher, and an enduring example of courage. Richard Hammond's story reminds us that life's greatest victories often emerge from its darkest moments. The crash was more than a television event. It was a turning point that redefined his identity, his priorities, and his understanding of what it means to be truly fearless. The man who once risked everything for a stunt had become someone who values life, embraces challenges responsibly, and inspires others to do the same. Survival had taught him that courage is not about avoiding danger but confronting it with awareness and resilience. Triumph is not in reckless victories but in the quiet determination to live fully, despite the risks. Richard Hammond's journey, marked by fear, pain, and ultimately renewal, stands as a powerful testament to the strength of the human spirit and the enduring capacity to turn tragedy into triumph.